Hi there, I am Annie Figenshu from Downstage Media, and I cannot tell you how excited I am to be introducing you today to Ari Siegel. Ari Siegel is the brainchild behind History by Mail, and he has some pretty big news that's going to be coming up. He will be on Shark Tank. Shark Tank on April 4th is when it starts streaming. And so look for it on ABC on April 4th. And then also the places where it streams. Ari, it streams on Hulu. And where else does it stream, Shark Tank?
That's the main place. You can still find it on ABC for a while, and then it goes to YouTube as well. So it depends on when you're watching it.
Right. Okay. Yeah. So the best place to start is ABC and like ABC On Demand and things like that. But then check out Hulu, check out all the other places after then. But Ari, I was introduced to Ari about a year ago. We've been working together. He's been a one-on-one client of Downstage Media's. And Ari, how hard has it been to keep this secret for so many months, to know that you were going to be appearing? Like, what has that been like for you?
It was incredibly difficult. So I've heard this on other podcasts, so I know I'm able to talk about it. The studio made us talk to a therapist for how to keep a secret, because it is just so difficult. So imagine knowing something that's going to change your life, and you can't tell your family and you can't tell your friends, and you have to live with that for an indefinite period of time. It's really exciting, but it's also really difficult.
Yeah, I'm sure. Well, so I wanted to share a little bit about what History by Mail is, because it is such a smart idea. It is no surprise that you were chosen to appear on Shark Tank. So History by Mail is a subscription service where now I have this fancy folio that you can have that says History by Mail. And once a month, depending on how long your subscription is, a year, whatever, you get these beautiful envelopes sent to you. And inside them are replicas of historical documents, explanations of those historical documents to give you a little bit of insight, transcripts of the historical documents in case you can't read cursive, which my children cannot. So this, for example, is one that I got. If you are friends with me, you know how much I love national parks. And so I got the national parks add-on. And so it is a sketch here of Yosemite that John Muir did, and the north face of Half Dome. So I could see like these sketches that were done and then a description about them. And next month I'm going to have another one. So Ari, such a smart idea. Love that. I feel like I could talk about that idea forever, but let's really get into your experience with Shark Tank, since your episode's going to be airing on April 4th. Tell me about the feelings that were going through you and the experience, what it was like walking onto the set of Shark Tank.
It was surreal. I knew it was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. And so I had practiced for thousands of hours for that moment. I practiced walking down the hallway and what my pace would be and what I would be thinking. And then when it actually happened, it was just surreal. It went by in a flash, because I had practiced it so many times. And so my mind didn't know the difference between thousands of times in practicing and then the reality. But it was just an incredible experience.
Wow, that sounds so cool from that angle of it. I know that I had been observing you working on your pitch, working on what you were going to say, that message that you were going to deliver. What was really important for you to make sure that it came across clearly to the Sharks? What did you really want them to understand about History by Mail?
That this is a unique opportunity. That's one of the reasons the producers wanted us on the show. They hadn't seen anything like this before. And I wanted them to know that this is a different model, a different product that they've seen before, and that it is extremely profitable. And then obviously I'm talking to billionaires and the best business minds in the world, and I'm thinking that they've got all the power. But I wanted them to know that I have an incredible opportunity that can help them. And so we worked on our script to make sure that immediately it was apparent. And there's no way to know this, but I do believe that they were, well, I can't give any spoilers,
Yeah, no spoilers.
They were extremely impressed quickly. Let's just say that.
Okay. So what was that, like, what was that aha moment in working on your pitch? Because you worked on it so much. And how did you know what to keep and what not to keep?
Less is more. So I wanted to put everything in there. I wanted theatrical elements, and I wanted to get as many examples as possible. And I wanted to tailor each document for each shark. But then it just became too long. And you have to think about the viewer as busy people. Maybe they're at home washing the dishes or doing the laundry, and they have to immediately understand what's happening and get hooked. So I have to cut it way down, and I just had to cut it to the essentials so that it was entertaining and informational, and that they understood what was happening in a split second.
Yeah. Again, no spoilers, because we have to watch the episode on April 4th. But did any of the sharks respond in a way that surprised you?
Yes. So I know from watching the show that you have no idea what's going to click with any particular shark. So it could be a weird idea and someone says, oh gosh, in my childhood, I was connected to that. Or you might think that someone would love it and they say, no, I already have other companies like that in my portfolio. I'm out. So there's no way to tell.
Yeah.
But there was one shark that I was targeting, and I had an incredible document for them. And I had spent more than 6 months getting the license for it. And I had hustled. I went so far as to find the janitor of the building that the lawyer worked in and get them to go to the lawyer and make sure they could sign the document with the studio so that we could get the rights to show this document on air. It was incredibly painstaking. I get there and the shark was like, I don't care about this. And there's no way I could have predicted that.
Wow. Oh my gosh. So you went through all of that, because I know that sometimes in our one-on-one sessions, you would say about how you had, did I hear this right? You had life-size cutouts of the sharks that you would practice with, right?
Yes. So I watched thousands or hundreds of hours of episodes, and then I listened to lots of entrepreneurs talk about what they did to prepare for the show. And then I wrote down every single question that was asked on the show onto note cards, and I would practice them for hours every day. And then about 6 months prior to the taping, I created life-size cutouts of each shark, and I would talk to them every night, and I would do my note cards in front of them so that I would practice immediately feeling good in their presence, feeling confident, being able to look them in the eyes. And some of them I had with facial expressions where they weren't smiling. Maybe they were looking stern, so that I practiced saying everything in every different which way. And I then took each shark, and I made a little YouTube video where they're having different expressions come up. And I would practice every card to every shark with every expression so that I had been through everything before.
Oh my gosh. I love how detailed you were with that, because I know just in our sessions how much we worked on this word going here and that word going there. And to know that meanwhile you had all of these hours and hours behind you that you were also doing to prepare. Also, by the way, it is very clear when you look at these replicas how many hours go into them, and that same kind of detail. To if you have somebody in your life who's into American history, into the national parks, they have so many different add-ons, but this is such a neat subscription. First of all, you get real mail every month. Like, who doesn't love that? And then you also just get to see this layer of detail, which you can read through if you're really into it, or you can just get sort of the overall idea, and you can see that shines through. This that we're hearing with Ari's preparation process is not unlike what you experience when you are a customer. And I love that. I love how it comes through in so much of what you do.
Thank you. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
So every stage of the production process, we pour so many hours into making sure it's interesting and accurate. First, we have to find the documents. So we pour through archives and talk with historians to find documents that are visually appealing and tell a compelling story. And once we find them, we have to license them. Then we have to graphically design them so that they are as close to the original as possible. Sometimes over time they've worn, or later historians have put archival notes on them that we have to determine whether they should be in or not. And then we replicate them on authentic paper that's as close to the original as possible, provide a transcript when necessary, and then accompany it with a context document that describes the history behind it, which is heavily researched and heavily edited. So there's a lot that goes into it. I want to say, in terms of the preparation, I knew that it was necessary. They have between 20 to 40,000 applications a year for Shark Tank pitches, and less than 100 air. And so I knew only the best were going to get on there, and I had to put in the hours if I had any chance.
That is so true. I had no idea that those were the numbers. I knew it was astronomical, but I didn't realize it was so selective like that. So you said that you listened to so many hours and you watched so many hours of other contestants who had been on Shark Tank, or other people who had applied, or other people who had been through the process. What would you say to some of those 40,000 people who are thinking of pitching their business? What is something that they need to consider when they're going through this process?
Put in the hours. Success leaves clues. So you have to look at what other people did well and what other people did not do well, and learn from it. Learn from what the show's been on for 16 seasons. It's basically formulaic now. So you should be able to know what types of things get a good response, what type of things don't get a good response. I analyzed every deal into a spreadsheet. What was the ask? What did the shark say? What did they come back with? What percentage of those then got deals? And mathematically calculated what we should say and when, how much we should negotiate and when. And that's the detail I think you need to put in to succeed.
Yeah, because I can't imagine how your adrenaline must be going. And so even answering basic questions of your name and what, your birthday, things that you know by heart and have known your entire life, all of a sudden I can imagine they would just go out the window unless you've put in the time to prepare the way that you did. I actually want to get into some of the preparation that we did together to get you ready. So tell me a little bit about the messaging that we did, right? That the work that we did, because you and I worked a lot on the words and the words that you were going to use in your pitch, right? The words that you were going to use to talk to the sharks on Shark Tank. So how did you think that the messaging work that you did helped you when you were putting together those thousands of hours worth of preparation?
So there's two pieces of the benefit of Shark Tank, the Shark Tank effect. There's this basically free infomercial to millions of people, which is incredibly valuable. And then there's the deal. There's two pieces of a Shark Tank episode. There's the initial pitch, and then there's the Q&A, which then leads to a deal. So I guess you could say three. The part that matters most to the audience is the initial pitch. That's what gets them hooked in the first 10, 20 seconds. And maybe they'll become a customer. And that's tremendously valuable. And so the work we did together was very helpful in making the words perfect. Every word, the intonation, being concise, not too much, not too little, so that when millions of people are hearing the pitch in 60 seconds, they know if they love you or not, if it's a good gift for their grandfather or not. And that's incredibly important. I watch the show regularly. I watched episodes since then, and I see not all the pitches are that great. And the show leaves a lot up to the entrepreneur to decide, because it's ultimately their business and they're pitching. That's the reality TV piece of it. And so I was so grateful to work together to hone that message, because this is a once in a lifetime opportunity to speak to millions of people. And I think we nailed it.
I cannot wait until April 4th, because then I will know for sure whether we have nailed it. Ari has been so good at letting me in on what things he's allowed to tell me and what things he is not allowed to tell me. So I know that on April 4th, I will be watching Shark Tank. I hope that you are as well. Please go to historybymail.com and check out History by Mail. It is such a great subscription service that he offers. It is so unique, and especially with Father's Day on the horizon, you've got graduates. I mean, it's all right. We're practically in April. I mean, people are going to be graduating in a few weeks with May. I mean, there's so many opportunities to give people these really neat replicas, real mail every week. I'm sorry, not every week, every month. And they can sort of like hold a little bit of history in their hands. So I just feel so privileged to be able to have helped you with that, to help you not only with the words, but then use some of my theater training to help you with, like you said, the intonation. And best of luck to you on April 4th. I know that you know how things went, but I know we have a lot of work to prepare your marketing from now till then to get it ready. So
yes,
I know
this
you
is
have
only
so
just
much
the
to do in
beginning
your
now.
Yes,
Thank you for all your help.